New and provocative clues are coming in minute by minute about the mystery of the vanished airplane. Tonight, we're going to zero in on some of these key questions. What is the new evidence that the plane's communications were deliberately shut off? And also tonight, did the plane plummet or did it swerve? What does the radar show? And finally, did it end up in the water or did it end up on the land? ABC's David Curley now with the dramatic new details and the unfolding mystery right now.
Tonight, ABC News has learned there was not just one turn, a possible effort to return to the airport, but other turns that took the jetliner up the Malacca Strait toward the Indian Ocean. Even more evidence suggesting a possible rogue pilot or hijacker may have been in control of the Malaysian 777 after it dropped off radar.
That indicates that somebody may be on the controls. Slight turns I can see, but if somebody's making a major heading change, that would appear to be an intentional input to the controls.
That, on top of the news, reported first by ABC, that two communication systems were turned off, possibly on purpose. Yeah. Pilots know how to do this, as we were shown today in a Boeing simulator. That transponder, which gives the jet's location, is controlled by just a switch.
It can be relatively easily switched off by rotating the knob anti-clockwise.
A data system was also turned off, according to our source, but part of that system keeps working. It can't be turned off, something pilots around the world didn't know until yesterday. It's a transmitter, still pinging, talking to a satellite every hour, sending a signal that is then relayed to the ground. Someplace on the top here is a transmitter that's sending a signal up to a satellite?
Yeah, the antennas for that would be on top of the aircraft.
U.S. officials say those satellites receive data for 4 to 5 hours and can help determine the position of the jet. And that could be critical, because flying 4 or more hours, the 777 could travel 2,400 miles, leaving a massive search area over land and water, more than the size of the United States. Those satellite pings could narrow that significantly. And even if they do find the wreckage, it could be deep, parts of the Indian Ocean as deep as 9 World Trade Center buildings. With all these questions about the pilots, we went to their neighborhoods. We talked to neighbors who had nothing bad to say about either man. In addition, we know that U.S. law enforcement has reviewed the passenger list and there were no troubling findings. The encouraging news is these satellite pings could narrow what is now a massive search area. Diane?
Thank you so much, David. And now let's bring in once again ABC's aviation military expert, Colonel Steve Ganyard. Steve, so tell me about these reports of twists and turns, even a loss of altitude at one point.
There's conflicting stories tonight, but we are seeing what we call heading changes, where the aircraft changes its nose position and moves around the sky. This would confirm, as David says in his story, that we are seeing an airplane that's being controlled by pilots or somebody in that aircraft.
Let me ask you about this report of land or sea. Namely, they're using, according to the AP, heat-seeking devices in order to examine the islands tonight?
They aren't exactly heat-seeking. What they are, they're looking at heat differential. So it allows them to see the difference in contrast between, say, a piece of metal floating on top of the ocean and the ocean itself.
Give me just your gut sense where we're heading in this story, what we're going to find.
It's been an amazing day, Diane. It really has. And I'll tell you what, personally, my opinion has changed almost by the hour. It's going to depend on what this radar data shows. If this radar data shows big changes in altitude up and down, then I think it's probably a hijacker, somebody who's not familiar flying that airplane at night, trying to control that airplane. If we find out that the altitude is fairly steady, I'm going to go with pilot or pilots, and it's controlled, and it's probably heading out into the Indian Ocean, is somewhere deep underneath the Indian Ocean at this night.
For reasons everyone will be exploring. Thank you once again. Steve Ganyard reporting in.